Hi there, my name is David Hart, and I'm an executive director here in Cassis. I oversee something that we call Advising Success, which is several different departments, but one of them actually is the International Student Center. So I'm really glad to be meeting you this morning. I know you're probably going a little bit crazy. You're already here on campus, but you haven't really been able to start doing anything yet. My guess is some of you are probably pretty nervous about what's getting ready to happen. Anytime you don't know exactly how something is going to go, it can cause a little bit of anxiety. Some of you are so excited to start, that's why you're going crazy. So I don't know where you are on that spectrum. It's probably a mixture of both. You're both nervous and excited. But I wanted to just kind of share a couple thoughts with you really quick in the next couple of minutes that I hope are helpful. A lot of times with international students, depending on your background, and I know everybody's different, some of those things that you're nervous and excited about can range from, honestly, even just communication and speaking with other people and wondering about how you can interact with folks. It might even be some challenge that you're nervous about that might be difficult, or something that you're wondering exactly how it will look here in the United States versus what it was like back home. Or it could be something that you're so excited about offering to everyone else. You're one of those people that really wants to interact with lots of people. You've got something to give and you can't wait to get in front of people. So wherever you are on that spectrum, from nervous to super excited, I want to tell you that you are a prime target for some excitement, and God can use you if you take what I say into consideration. Why do I say that? Here's 3 different examples. Okay, so in the Old Testament, in the book of Exodus chapter 4, we are introduced and we get to see a really interesting moment in the life of Moses. God is talking to Moses, and he tells Moses that he wants him to go back to Egypt and to free his people and deliver them to the promised land. And Moses is scared to death. He says, God, I am not the best speaker. I don't know if you know who you're talking to. You want me to do this? And God says, Moses, what do you have in your hand? And he says, a staff. And God says, yes, exactly right. And basically he tells him how he's going to use that staff to perform miracles. And over the next 40 years, that's exactly what Moses does, from parting the Red Sea and delivering his people to the promised land, and bringing water out of a rock, and winning battles over the Amalekites and all sorts of cool things. Basically because he let God do something with what he had in his hand. In 1 Samuel chapter 17, we hear about David. David is a shepherd boy. He's the youngest of 9 brothers and sisters. He's the runt, he's the young guy. And his dad sends him to the front lines of battle to deliver stuff to all of his older brothers. And so he delivers these things up there, and he sees the giant, 9'9" tall giant, mocking and making fun of his God and his brothers and everyone there in that chapter. And he's the little guy, and he can't stand what he sees. And it's interesting, in verse 49, it says, and David put his hand in his bag and took out a stone and slung it and struck the Philistine in the forehead, and it sank into his forehead, and the giant fell to his face, fell to the ground on his face. And so basically David killed the giant just simply with the small stone that he had in his hand. And then a third example that's really neat, I love this, in the book of John, it's the story where Jesus feeds the 5,000. Jesus and his disciples are getting away to a hillside, and crowds of people follow them. And it says actually there's more than 5,000. That just means 5,000 men. It was probably double or triple that. And they're looking at each other and they're wondering, how on earth are we going to be able to get any food that we can feed all these people? And Philip shrugs his shoulders and he says, I have no idea. And just about that time, what I love is that there's a young boy that's coming by. And actually in John 6, verse 9, it says, here's a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish. But how far will that go among so many? And Jesus says, have everybody sit down. And he takes the fish and the loaves and he breaks them and he blesses them. And he tells the disciples to pass them out. And in fact, he tells them to have as much as they want. And so that's exactly what the disciples do. And in fact, after everyone's eaten as much as they want, he tells the disciples, now go around and collect up all of the leftovers. And they had baskets full. And I just think it's really interesting that here are these 3 examples. Moses with a staff, and David with a stone, and a young boy that's never even actually named in Scripture, but it specifically says a young boy who simply had a sack lunch in his hand. And with those 3 simple things, God used them to perform miracles and do really incredible things that maybe those 3 people would have never guessed God could have done with what was in their hand. So I just want to encourage you, wherever you are on that spectrum, from really nervous to really excited, God made you exactly the way that you are. You've got really amazing backgrounds. You've got a story unlike anyone else. You have gifts that God gave you. You've got a major, you've got things that are inside you that you might be a little bit nervous about giving to everyone around you. But I just want to tell you 3 things that's pretty cool that I want you to think of as you get ready to start this new semester here at Liberty and this new season of life. Number 1, God doesn't ask us to use something we don't already have. You've already got exactly what you need to begin following God's will here at Liberty. Number 2, God won't use anything until we let go of it. It seems odd, but sometimes it was in giving it away that God really did something miraculous. Because number 3, we will never know the full potential of what we have until we allow God to have full control of it. So I don't know exactly what you're nervous about or excited about this semester, but I just want to encourage you that right now you might be a bundle of nerves, you might be a bundle of energy. Inside you might feel a little bit like this, but that's not what God sees. I want you to know that really He sees exactly what you have in a completely different way than you might even feel right now. And He can't wait for everybody else to experience what you have. So whatever it is that's in your hand, I just encourage you to give it to God and watch what He can do with it. It was nice to meet you, and I pray that you have a great semester here at Liberty.